Today on Inquirer, President Bongbong Marcos set to talk to China envoy over his remarks on OFWs in Taiwan.
I think there must have been an element of yung lost in translation. It's not his English is not his first language, but I'm very interested to know what it is that he meant.
Department of Justice state prosecutors asked court to reopen one of former Senator Laila de Lima's case to present a new witness. Despite requests from telcos, Department of Information and Communications Technology says no extension of SIM card registration at this point. And NBA suspends Golden State Warriors Draymond Green for stepping on Sacramento Kings center Domantas Sabonis' chest. Good evening. President Bongbong Marcos is set to meet with Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines Wang Shilian over his remark on overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan. Daphne Galvez has the report.
There might have been an element of lost translation. This was how President Bongbong Marcos described Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines Wang Shilian's recent statement, where he cited the safety of overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan amid the China-Taiwan tension. Wang said the safety and welfare of 150,000 OFWs in Taiwan might be jeopardized if the Philippines does not oppose the independence of the self-ruled island.
I think there must have been an element of yung lost in translation. It's not his English is not his first language, but I'm very interested to know what it is that he meant. I believe I interpret it as him trying to say that you should not, Philippines, do not provoke or intensify the tensions because it will impact badly on the Filipinos. Well, that's how I take it.
Marcos said that while he was a little surprised by Wang's statement, he will talk soon with the Chinese ambassador to give him a chance to explain.
I'll be talking to the ambassador soon, and I'm sure he will be very anxious to give his own interpretation of what he was trying to say. Yeah, we were all a little surprised, but I just put it down to the difference in language.
Wang had advised the Philippines to oppose Taiwan's independence instead of stoking the fire by giving American troops more access to local military bases. Due to this statement, lawmakers have called for his recall as the envoy to the Philippines. The China's embassy has since said that the ambassador's remarks were taken out of context. This is Daphne Galvez reporting for INQUIRER.net.
Following the approval of 4 more enhanced defense cooperation agreement sites in the country, Senator Amy Marcos says it appears that the government is now relying on foreigners for its external defense. During an inquiry, Marcos reiterates that Edca's primary objective is no longer the armed forces of the Philippines' modernization, but the disaster preparedness, maritime security, and counterterrorism. Defense Chief Carlito Galvez Jr., however, says these objectives require AFP modernization, to which Marcos makes a rebuttal.
Bakit parang nakalimutan na natin, parang aasa na lang ba tayo sa mga dayuhan na ipagtanggol tayo samantalang ang ating sandatahan lakas ay nananatiling bulok, luma, armed and completely abject in the face of any external threats.
Senators learned during the inquiry that the Philippines and the U.S. have no written agreement yet on 4 new Edca sites. Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo reiterated that the two parties have yet to discuss the terms of reference of the new sites, adding that the agreed locations may be listed in an annex to be appended to the agreement.
Before they're listed in the annex, it would have to be subject to an exchange of notes between the Philippines and the United States. But once we agree on the exchange of notes on the new sites, that will then be included in the annex as the new sites.
As far as the 4 new sites are concerned, there is no written agreement contained in an annex of the Edca.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Manalo also says the Philippines may not allow the U.S. to use the Edca sites should there be a military conflict over Taiwan.
Shall we allow the storage of material for Taiwan operations? As you see it, we talked about humanitarian operations. We are all agreed with you. We are totally with you there. Pero, paano yung pag-iimbak ng mga weaponry, ng mga sandatahan laban sa Taiwan? Hahayaan ba natin o hindi? Yes, Secretary Manalo, since you said we can agree on additional activities, and you are absolutely right. Will we agree?
If that should ever arise, that eventuality, we will be guided by the main purposes of the Edca, and we would not agree to any kind of activity or even materials not consistent with these agreed activities. And therefore, I think it would be along those lines, that if there were ever a proposal, we would have to find out whether it's consistent with this agreement.
Meanwhile, House of Representatives Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez says the relationship between the Philippines and the United States is reaching new heights under the administration of President Bongbong Marcos and Joe Biden. He says this after a meeting with their U.S. counterparts in Washington, D.C. The speaker says strategies to strengthen economic cooperation, defense, and security engagements, along with bilateral strategic dialogue, were discussed during the meetings. Romualdez made a similar remark last August 2022, saying the long-standing relationship between the two nations is only growing stronger. The widow of Negros Oriental Governor Degamo says her husband would probably still be alive if the Senate and other government agencies had acted promptly on his plea for help in stopping the worsening violence in the province. Senator Bato de la Rosa, who was presiding over the hearing, wondered why Degamo failed to address the violent incidents in the province where he was the highest elected official. Pamplona Mayor Janice Degamo says the provincial government's budget for intelligence was no match for suspended Negros Oriental Representative Arnie Teves' money. She claims that Teves owned operations of e-sabong and the state-sanctioned small-town lottery in Negros Oriental and Cebu provinces.
The governor is the highest position of the province.
Precisely.
But the gambling lord has more money than the provincial government allotted for intel. You may be the person who is holding the highest post, but financially, ang layo mo sa kanila, piso ka lang. We are faced with a giant opponent moneyed, fueled by e-sabong, fueled by STL, fueled by maybe even illegal drugs.
While in a radio interview, Teves insists that he is not feared in his own province, but instead, he is treated like a celebrity, adding that people approach him to take photos. This is in response to accusations thrown against him and his family after the brazen assassination of Teves' political rival, Degamo. The suspended lawmaker is being tagged as a mastermind in the Pamplona massacre, which he has repeatedly denied since. He remains to reside outside of the country even amid an ensuing investigation on his involvement, refusing to return home due to certain threats against his life. State prosecutors ask a Muntinlupa City Court to reopen one of former Senator Laida de Lima's two remaining illegal drug cases to give them the chance to present a last-minute witness and other, quote, rebuttal evidence against her. The move takes de Lima's defense counsel Filibon Tacardon by surprise, as he says it was contrary to what the two parties had agreed to on Monday in front of Judge Abraham Joseph Alcantara. De Lima's lawyer says the Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court, Branch 204 on Monday, announced that the decision on the case would be promulgated on May 12. Based on the omnibus motion for reconsideration filed after Monday's hearing, the DOJ prosecutors say they intended to submit exhibits during the presentation of evidence of de Lima's co-accused Ronnie Dayan, a former aide. This, along with the testimony of lawyer Demtier Huerta from the Public Attorney's Office. Tacardon says he was not yet sure of the nature of Huerta's testimony, but he warns that the implication of the sudden and unexplained change of mind by the prosecutors might result in another prolonged hearing. He says the defense team is studying the DOJ's motion and plans to oppose it. The Lima has been detained at the Philippine National Police Custodial Center since 2017 over drug-related charges filed in 3 different branches of the Muntinlupa RTC. Over 1 million records belonging to applicants and employees of law enforcement agencies have been compromised in an unprecedented data breach, according to a report from the leading cybersecurity research company VPN Mentor. It exposed over 800 gigabytes of both applicant and employee records under multiple state agencies, including the Philippine National Police, the National Bureau of Investigation, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, and the Special Action Force. Exposed records encompass highly sensitive data such as fingerprint scans, birth certificates, tax identification numbers, tax filing records, academic transcripts, and even passport copies. The report says these government documents were stored in an unsecured and non-password protected database vulnerable to cyber attacks or ransomware, but noted that no such attacks have occurred. PNP Public Information Office Chief Federico Maranan relayed to ENQUIRER.net a message from Anti-Cybercrime Group Director Police Brigadier General Sidney Hernia, stating that the Cybercrime Unit is still conducting vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Next on Enquirer Today. Philippine National Police says dismissed Police Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo Jr. has been detained in Metro Manila District Jail since December 2022. Despite requests from telcos, Department of Information and Communications Technology says no extension of SIM card registration at this point. And NBA suspends Golden State Warriors Draymond Green for stepping on Sacramento Kings center Domantas Sabonis' chest. This is Enquirer Today. We'll be back shortly.
Losing a fur baby may be one of the most painful moments for a fur parent. To ease the grieving process, a toy maker found a way to immortalize the memory of beloved animal friends.
My name is David Tan, and I'm the founder and CEO of Panga Teddy, based here in Pampanga, Philippines.
In 2019, David himself experienced the grief of losing a pet. When his dog Fusion passed away.
The idea of creating plush animal clones actually came when my dog, I used to have a golden retriever, passed away. And after it passed away, I had this thought of, how can I have a remembrance of my pet? I only had pictures. Since I own a plush toy factory, why don't I try making an actual, realistic replica of my dog?
Aside from his pet, one of David's motivations in being a toy maker is his newborn.
Plush toys is something that I've always had an interest in, and I have a new baby boy, and that also is an inspiration for me, because I want to make some toys for him.
David's lifelike plush clones are made from various materials. He uses different types of synthetic furs, fabrics, and other accessories to make the replicas come to life.
What we're doing is definitely not taxidermy. We don't deal with the real pet at all in any way. We're just using 100% fur that was made for teddy bears. The main difference is that we're constructing something from materials that are just fabric and accessories, whereas taxidermy, it's more involved with the actual skin of the deceased pet. So for the process of making a plush animal clone, what we do is we first get photos from our customer with a lot of different views, top, front, back, side, and even bottom, underneath the paws. So once our pattern maker sees all those details, he's able to make a paper pattern, and then once he has that pattern finished, he will put that on top of fabric, and then they're going to cut over the pattern, and they're going to cut out all the pieces of the fabric. So now what they do is they sew it into the skin of the clone, and from the skin we make it's called a frame. What we do is we put it inside the skin, And then after that, they will stuff it with the stuffing and then sew it shut. And then the magic happens at the very end where they do the airbrushing. So they'll have a picture of the pet and then they'll have the airbrush, and then they're going to start airbrushing all the little details of the clone until it comes to life.
For David, the solace that these plushies bring to pet owners is what pushes him to continue to improve his craft.
There was actually a video I watched where it brought tears to my eyes. It's the dog whisperer here in the Philippines. And he made this entire episode about one of his dogs that passed away. And the most touching moment of his vlog was that he brought this, his dog passed away and he brought the clone to his other dogs. And immediately the other dogs started sniffing under his ear and licking under his ear. And what he was saying is that, wow, that's exactly what they used to do when the dog was still alive. So what's amazing about this is that what we created is something that transcends humans. Even animals are convinced that our plush animal clones are real.
The Philippine National Police says dismissed Police Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo Jr., who is involved in the 6.7 billion worth of shabu seized in a drug bust last year, has been detained in Metro Manila District Jail since December 2022. PNP spokesperson Police Colonel Jean Fajardo confirms this to ENQUIRER.net in a Viber message. Fajardo says Mayo was briefly detained at PNP Custodial Center in Camp Crame, Quezon City before he was transferred to Metro Manila District Jail in Camp Bagong Diwa, Taguig City on December 9, 2022. In October 2022, Mayo and Rene Saligumba Atadero were arrested by anti-drug operatives in Tondo, Manila. Earlier this month, Interior Secretary Benhur Abalos unveiled the names of 10 ranking police officers allegedly involved in the alleged shabu cover-up. PNP Chief General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. defended the police force on April 17, saying there was no plan to cover up the arrest of Mayo and no attempt to delay the case investigation. The Department of Information and Communications Technology announces that the April 26 deadline for SIM card registration will not be extended. In a statement, the DICT says there is no extension of SIM card registration at this point. This apparently denies the telco company's appeal for an extended SIM card registration period. With only 1 week to go, less than half of the total SIM card holders have registered under their respective telecommunications provider. The National Telecommunications Commission reports 73,033,000 registrants as of Wednesday, which is only 43% of the total target. Telco giants Globe Telecom, Smart Communications, and Dito Telecommunity have separately called for the extension of the SIM registration period, citing a lack of IDs and digital illiteracy in disenfranchised areas as main barriers to registration. The National Basketball Association is suspending Golden State Warriors forward Draymond Green for 1 game for stepping on Sacramento Kings center Domantas Sabonis' chest during a game. The incident happened in Game 2 of their first-round playoff series with 7 minutes 3 seconds left in the fourth quarter. After falling to the floor, Sabonis grabbed at Green's right ankle and held onto it, prompting Green to stomp on his chest. Green will miss out on a crucial Game 3 happening on Thursday in San Francisco. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics defeated the Atlanta Hawks 119-106, seizing a commanding 2-0 lead in their first-round Eastern Conference playoff matchup. The Cleveland Cavaliers tied their best-of-7 series with New York 1-1 after their 107-90 victory over the Knicks. The Phoenix Suns also evened their first-round Western Conference playoff series at 1-1 with a 123-109 victory over the Los Angeles Clippers. Alamin naman natin ang mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Irvin Santiago ng Bandera. Irvin?
Hi Neil at sa lahat ng mga kabandera natin all over the universe. Ito na nga ang latest Bandera Chika. Enjoy na enjoy ang star for all seasons na si Vilma Santos bilang first-time lola, lalo na kapag nakakasama at nakakarga niya ang kanyang apong si Baby Peanut. Ayon kay Ate V, ang sarap-sarap daw pala talagang maging lola at ibang-iba ang feeling kapag nakakabanding niya ang panganay na anak ni na Luis Manzano at Jessie Menjola. 3 months old na ngayon si Baby Peanut pero hindi pa raw nila masyadong ine-expose ang bata dahil nag-iingat pa rin sila para sa kalusugan nito. Sabi pa ng movie icon, ang sarap-sarap daw pala talagang maging lola at super excited na siya na maipasya lang apo sa magagandang lugar sa Pilipinas. Nagbigay din si Ate V ng mensahe para sa first-time parents na sina Luis at Jessie. Aniya, dapat daw ay lagi silang prepared sa mga darating na pagsubok sa kanilang pagsasama lalo na ngayong meron na silang anak. Samantala, natanong din ang veteranang aktres kung may plano ba si Luis na pasukin din ang politika, tulad niya na nagsilbing mayor, kongresista at governor ng Batangas.
She just turned 3 months old and hindi pa masyado namin siya na-expose, especially the parents, no? Ang anak ko si Lucky and si Jess, kasi hindi pa siya fully vaccinated. When she's fully vaccinated, mas i-expose namin siya, mas makakasama ko siya. I'm so excited. It's really nice to be a lola. It's really nice to be a lola. Sarap. Ang ganda-ganda niya, basta maganda siya. Si Lucky naman, ever since, hinihilingan siya talaga tumakbo. Ever since. But one thing I told my son, son, if you're not prepared, kasi ang ganda ng career niya di ba? Income niya, let's face it, di ba? Now, if you're not willing to sacrifice those things like your income, your anak, then don't. At saka pinag-aaralan niyan. So if you are prepared, then okay lang. I will support you all the way kasi ibang fulfillment din
At yan ang Bandera Chika natin today. Thanks, Neil.
Maraming salamat, Irvin. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Catch Inquirer today live weekdays at 6 p.m. Follow enquirer.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit enquirer.net. Good evening.